Hey there, everybody. Welcome to BA 251, our Principles of Macroeconomics class. My name is Brad Bilski, and I will be your instructor for our course. The purpose of this video is just to do a brief rundown of the syllabus and the expectations for the class, and I'm also going to walk you around our class site on Sakai. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here just introducing the syllabus, talking about the basic setup of the class. Then we'll dive into our assignments and the workflow and kind of talk about where you submit everything and what you can expect in terms of learning objectives and so forth. So this is an accelerated class, of course. It's a May mini class. So basically we're meeting for about 3.5 weeks or so. So it's really important to keep on top of the work. If you ever have any problems, questions, or concerns, please reach out. I have my email address up here. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Generally, I check that once a day, maybe on the weekends. There might be a day I miss on a rare occasion, but being it is so accelerated, I'll make sure to make every effort to get back with you as quickly as possible. If you ever want to speak on phone or by Skype, I'd be happy to set up an appointment like that. Just send me an email letting me know you'd like to talk, and we could work out the logistics of all of that. I actually live in North Carolina, so it'd be difficult to meet face to face, but I'm up for any other alternative form of meeting you'd like to make if email doesn't work for you. So a little bit about the class. This is a macroeconomics class. Some of you may have had basic introductory economics before in high school or at some other school, or you may have had microeconomics. So the big difference between macro and microeconomics is macro is looking at big picture issues. So we're going to be looking at things like the growth rate of the economy as a whole, which we call gross domestic product, basically seeing how much we produce as a nation and how that grows over time. We're also going to look at things like inflation, how the value of money changes over time. We'll look at the unemployment rate, international trade, issues affecting job creation and job growth. So all of those types of issues affect everybody within the economy, everybody in the nation. So those are macro, big picture issues. Microeconomics course will cover some of the same introductory material like supply and demand, but micro is really focused on individual issues, how individual consumers make decisions, how individual companies make decisions on what they're going to produce, how much they're going to produce, how much they're going to charge for their prices. So we're going to really focus on the macroeconomic component in this class, but there is some crossover between macro and micro. So if you take micro at a later point, you'll see some of the same introductory issues, but you're going to focus more on individual actors and participants in the economy in that class. You could read through our learning objectives and course level outcomes here. I'm going to kind of scroll past that and just focus on really the things that you need to kind of get started here. Big question you might have is what text to use, and we're going to use the Greg Mankiw text. I've had a couple students email me asking if they need the MindTap application. You don't need that. You just need an edition of the textbook. It doesn't matter if it's an online version or a physical version. So whatever works best for you. Of course, price is always a concern with that decision, but it's really important to make sure you get this book as quickly as possible. We're going to see here shortly with the setup of the course. Usually I give you about a week to work on all of our assignments. So you're going to need that textbook within the first week. It's very difficult to succeed, if not impossible, to succeed in the course without having that textbook. So really make sure you get that within the first couple of days of class. I'll be posting additional videos and other resources through Sakai throughout the semester, but the key thing that you need to get on your own is that textbook. Now, you can see our grading policy and kind of the list of assignments and due dates down here. So basically, we're going to kind of chop up the course into thirds. So each week is going to kind of cover a third of the material. Then the last half week or 5 days, we're going to spend working on our final project and our final exam. So notice here that, starting today on Monday the 6th, we start with chapter 1, and we're going to cover 5 chapters a week. So that's an intense amount of information. Basically, what you're going to cover in a week in this class is the same amount of content that you'd cover in a whole month in a semester-long course. So it's really important to keep on track with these assignments. We keep the requirements pretty consistent throughout the course, so you know what to expect. So you're going to see here every week for the first 3 weeks, we're going to cover 5 chapters, and they don't always go in chronological order. Let's see, we go through chapters 1 through 4, then we kind of skip ahead to chapter 23. These first 4 chapters are kind of introductory chapters, things that you'd cover in both a macro and micro class. Once we jump into chapter 23, the last chapter for our first week, that's really solely focused on macroeconomics. So chapter 23 is really delving in to macro. And notice on May 12th, this is Sunday evening, we're going to have our first batch of quizzes due. So throughout the course, you're going to have a quiz that'll be proctored in Sakai based on each chapter. So you're going to have 5 quizzes, each on the 5 chapters for week number 1. You also have a homework due Sunday evening that covers content from all 5 chapters, and also an additional discussion board. All right, so all these assignments are due Sunday evening. The answers to the quizzes will become available early Monday morning. So make sure you get that stuff in by Sunday night. The answers will be freely available by Monday, so there's no acceptance of late work or anything like that as far as the quizzes go, because those answers are out there available to everybody. And it'd be unfair to let somebody turn in late work when those answers are already available. So make sure you're really diligent about actually submitting those. I do give opportunities for a couple bonus quizzes at the end of the semester. You can see that down here at the very end. So if you do miss a quiz, you'll have that opportunity to make up for one, but really try to get those in on time, because that's really going to have a huge impact on how you learn the material. The information in this class builds upon itself, so you don't want to miss stuff from the first week, because that's going to affect how you do in week number 2. And you can see week 2, kind of the basic same setup. Now we go chapters 24 through 28, really hitting on some of the heart of macroeconomics, talking about how we measure the cost of living, how we try to determine how much is being produced in our country and across the world. And then we start talking a little bit about the big measurements in macroeconomics: GDP, inflation, unemployment rate, and how those are calculated, and how economists and business people use those concepts to make decisions and analyze what's going on in the business world. So same deal on May 19th. That's the second Sunday evening of this course. Quizzes 6 through 10 are due, homework number 2 is due, and the second discussion board. So it's going to be the same setup every week. Monday morning, these assignments open. You have all week to work on them, so whatever works for you. If you want to do it and get it done within the first couple of days of class, that's fine. If weekends work better for you, you can kind of put it off to the weekend. My suggestion would be, if you have the ability to do so, do like 1 chapter a day, do a chapter and a quiz, then kind of save the discussion board and homework for the end, if that's possible. It's really hard if you try to do all this stuff right on Saturday and Sunday. That makes it very difficult. So try to pace this out. Keep in mind it's accelerated, so it's a lot of work being thrown at you in a short period of time. And same deal for the last week of class. We got another 5 chapters, kind of talking about some more advanced issues in macroeconomics, looking at some kind of current topics out there in economics, talking about trade policy, which is a really huge topic of conversation here in the United States and across the world right now, looking at how we can promote greater economic growth in the country and across the world as well, looking at different policies to try to promote that growth. So same deal on the 26th of May, your last batch of quizzes. Notice there's 15 total. You got 5 a week for 3 weeks. So quizzes 11 through 15 are due, the third homework due, and the third discussion board's due. The final kind of like mini week of class, or 4th week, it's not a full week. We go from May 27th through June 1st. I assigned 3 bonus chapters. You could work on these if you like. These will be used in place. The quizzes will be used in place of any missing or low prior quiz scores. So working on these bonus quizzes can only help your grade. So these last 3 quizzes are not mandatory, but they can help your grade out. So I recommend you work through those during the last week of class. May 31st will be our final exam. So that's a cumulative exam. It's going to cover everything in the course. As we move a little bit closer to that exam period, I'll send out a study guide. I'll talk a little bit more about the makeup of the test and what you can expect on that exam. And also, we're going to have a project due on June 1st. So I believe that's going to be a Saturday here. So if we look at June, yeah, the 1st is a Saturday. So our exam's going to be due on Friday the 31st. The project's going to be due on Saturday the 1st. You'll have that whole week to work on these assignments. So I'll open those on Monday the 27th. So as far as the grading goes, there's quizzes that you do each week. Those are going to make up a big percentage of your total grade. So there's a 30% of your grade. Each of those quizzes is worth 2% of your final grade. So there's 15 worth 2% each for that 30% total. Your final exam is going to be worth 30%. Discussion boards and homework assignments, there's going to be 3 of each of those, 1 for each of the first 3 weeks. Those are each worth 5%. And then that semester end projects, 10%. Overall. So I want to jump over to Sakai and just walk you around our course page to show you where you could find this information. Some of you may be really familiar with Sakai, others this may be your first time using the system, so I want to really go in detail to show where you could find these assignments. Notice on these weekly modules, I have overviews of each chapter, so typically I tell you, the time period that's being covered. Week 1 is going to be today, May 6th through the 12th. It covers the first 5 chapters on the syllabus, chapters 1 through 4 and chapter 23. Now, you can see there's a little explanation of each chapter. If you hit the tab for the chapter, I'm going to click on the chapter 1 button here. It's going to take you to the details of that chapter. So it gives you a little more in-depth ideas of the learning objectives for the chapter. So chapter 1 is just an introductory chapter talking about basic principles in economics. And you can see here kind of a brief rundown of what you can expect from that chapter. If you click on the quiz here, this will take you in to the first quiz. You hit your honor pledge button, and please make sure to do your own work. You're free to use your book and your notes. So these are open note quizzes, but please do your own work and hit that honor pledge. If you hit begin assessment, then we go to the first question. Notice there's this particular quiz is 10 questions. A lot will be 10. I think there's a few that might be 15 or 20 questions. And you'll notice here it's just a multiple choice quiz. Economics is the study of, and you'll see once you go through your questions and you go through your book and do the reading of the first chapter, that this is how society manages scarce resources. So economics, a lot of people think economics is solely focused on money or making money. That kind of comes into play into economics, but really it's looking at these scarce resources, how we distribute the resources that we produce, how we decide upon what we're going to produce as a society. All right, so basically you got one question there free if you're watching this video. So what you would do is just hit next. That takes you to the next question. You can actually save the quiz partway through, and you can come back to it. Just make sure if you do that you submit it before Sunday night so you get credit for working through it. So the quizzes will all work in the same way once you finish that first quiz. And of course, you want to read your chapter first before you take the quiz. All right, then maybe it's a good idea to take the quiz directly after that. Then you can kind of skim through the chapter to help you answer any of those questions. Same deal with chapter 2. Once you're done with the first quiz, go there. You can work on the second one. Now, the other major assignments are going to be our discussion board posts and our homeworks. If you click on the assignments tab, you'll see our assignments here. The first one is on international trade and growth. All right, notice this is a little bit different than the quizzes. The quizzes are typically multiple choice questions. Our assignments, though, you're going to actually submit a Word document, or you're going to do a write-up answering these questions. So a lot of times I'll either post some type of additional reading, I'll give you a web link to some articles, or I post some videos, and I ask you questions about those extra resources, and I try to kind of make that stuff integrate with material you read about in your book. So it's looking at some real life examples of how economics works in the business world, and that kind of ties into the academic or philosophical concepts that you read about in your book. So again, this is due by Sunday evening. The last thing you're going to want to look at is discussion board forums, and we have our week number 1 discussion board here. And you can see our full description. And these discussion boards are typically focused on you and your economic decision making. So it ties in things from your personal life with these concepts you're learning about in class. So notice that I ask you to describe a product that you consume that's made in the U.S. So that's something that you could answer pretty easily. And then I ask you if there's substitutes for this product, and if you consume this product instead of the substitute, why do you do that? So substitutes is one of the technical concepts that's discussed in our textbook. So once you read the textbook, you're going to kind of have the background knowledge that's going to help you answer these questions. Now, I don't require you to actually respond to other students. We have a small class, so sometimes that's difficult logistically to do. I want you to post your answer to this question by Sunday evening. If you do respond to some other students' post, maybe they write something you find really interesting and you give them a good substantive feedback, and not just saying, good job or something, but if you actually kind of try to relate to what they're saying and you add on to the conversation, and I see there's a good conversation going back and forth between you and other students in the class, I'll take that into consideration at the end of the course when I'm deciding on grades. So basically, if you're having communications with other students in these discussion boards, you might earn a few bonus points at the end of the semester, but you're not required to respond back to other students' posts. You just need to respond back to this question and make a post, but do be aware that the other students in the class, as well as myself, of course, are going to see these posts. And again, the discussion board is worth 5% of your grade each week, so there's 3 of them. That's 15% of your total. Same deal with that assignment. There's 3 of those at 5% each. So just a few last things. Our syllabus is in here, so you can just double click on that and that'll bring up the syllabus that we've been looking through as we've gone through this video. If you get down to the grade book, if you haven't used Sakai before, you can click on that and that'll bring up your individual grade for the course. All right, so I hope you enjoy the course. Again, it's really accelerated and fast-paced, but macroeconomics is actually my the funnest course, the one I like to teach the most out of all my courses. My background's in econ, finance, accounting, so I've taught a bunch of different courses, but I really like macro because it brings together a lot of different topics and areas of other disciplines. So it brings together history, sociology, business, statistics, and a bunch of other different subdisciplines kind of together. International affairs is a big thing we'll kind of be discussing in this course. So it brings those things together. Some concepts you might not normally typically see necessarily all in one business class, you kind of get in this class, I think. And it also looks at current events a lot, which I think is really cool and interesting. So I wish you the best of luck with the course. If you have any questions, problems, concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. That's what I'm here for. And I look forward to working with you this semester. Take care.